card or?
Yeah.
Yep. So, 14 gauge steel, like Tom was saying, you can run it with the door, you can run it without the door, you can have a clear view door. This is the capacitance style keypad, so this will not wear out. You can just touch it with your finger and it takes it. It's not a touch screen, but it's capacitance is what they say. So you can enter in a PIN number in here, and inside, depending on what's configured as far as the key box, this is my demo box. So we have a compartment. They come in different sizes. This was actually designed, this size was designed for a cell phone. Lasted for a little while, but then the cell phones got bigger. Some of the Easy Passes still fit in these. New York has that one that's small size. In fact, Pensy has it too, that could fit in here. Card and key, so if it's for a fleet of vehicles, they can put their auto keys, and that set of keys also prevents the gas card or access card from coming out. And this is available two ways. I don't have one in this box, but I believe this slot is actually for it.
Yeah,
That would
several
be for
ways
the
to secure the
internal
card.
style. So that requires a plastic sleeve that the access cards fit into or gas cards could fit into, and that would slide in horizontally into the box.
Like a mag stripe application?
A mag stripe, or it could be
Gas
access
card,
control
maybe.
card, or a gas card. I prefer the external for the gas cards, because otherwise the people are gonna just keep on taking it in and out of the plastic sleeve anyway to use it at the
I
pump.
gotta hit you with a question.
Yes, sir.
Unless that's a medical block on the exterior of your door, I'll pick it. Does that unit have a tamper,
The latch is actually, let's see what latch I have. I have the old style latch on this one,
this is
but
what I'm saying.
We have
Very
an
anti-pick.
Register that someone's tampering with the unit and notify,
if this door gets opened up, yes.
it does?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
there's alarm,
Absolutely.
send out an
Because I
email
can
or
pick
text.
that in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, we could put
Well,
a different, we could put a medical lock.
Medical, no, I can't bypass
Yeah.
that.
My comment was over the years is I was asking for an anti-pick lock years ago, and it took Walmart for us to actually get it. But that was well tested. I
Yeah.
think when we were up there at the one meeting before COVID, that thing was tested at 300,000, 400,000. I think, what George stop at, $1 million?
Well, the latch, yeah.
The
over-
latch
Yeah,
test.
over $1 million, and it's an anti-pick latch too.
And
Yeah.
does it notify a central monitoring station that say, hey, someone's there?
It could, yes.
All right.
It could, it depends on the customer and how they're set up.
The functionality's there, so if you wanted to monitor, if the
Yeah.
door is open.
If a guy at a central monitoring station says, hey, someone's there now,
Yeah.
tampering with it, trying to get in and accessing the keys.
Yeah, we can do that.
They could send them a notification, right?
Yeah.
You could send them a text message.
Yeah, text or email or both.
Even if you're not near that central location where that computer may be, it could just come to your phone, so you could be out and around, and next thing you know, something pops up on your phone. Okay, I got a
Yeah.
notification.
Call
I mean, for
security.
security purposes,
Mhm.
they could send somebody there right away.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
we actually have boxes, Piscataway and for Brown Brothers Harriman. So they have servers. There's one up in Boston, there was one down in DC, but they closed that. And there's one here in New Jersey, but if someone has to work on the servers for their trading platforms, once they get into the building and into Brown
That's
Brothers
what I'm saying,
area,
Yeah.
there's a phone on a desk. You pick up the phone, it goes to 3 different call centers: Poland, somewhere in the Caribbean, and somewhere in the US. So depending on who you get, the person announces who they are, what they're here to fix, and Brown Brothers Central Dispatch, either any of those 3 locations, will actually release the door, that they can open the door, and whatever key they need
Alright.
to work on the server.
That's what I wanted to know.
Then when they're finished, they call back up and say, we're done. They remote it again, they put it back, and they're on their way. But everything is locked.
Locked.
Yep. They know when the person was there, how long he was there, when the key was returned, the whole bit.
How do they check the guy's credentials that calls up, say, hey, I'm here to,
The one in Piscataway, I believe, is owned by Digital Realty.
Okay.
So,
We do
they
all
gotta
the
get through Digital Realty and their security before they even
Alright.
get back into, I mean, these places are huge.
all right.
Multiple
and they
layers.
have
They can't, no, they can't just walk in there, no.
multiple companies, Caterpillar, AT&T, Verizon, they're all in these places.
He probably has a card.
Oh, they're huge,
Right.
yes. Yeah, I was in one down in Sterling, Virginia, some years ago, and, I forget what the conversation was, but the guy, the security guy just started rattling all kinds of names off that were actually customers of theirs in that facility. But, yeah. So the other thing that we do is like Tom was saying, with the mechanical, we can actually trap the customer's keys in here. So if it's small format, large format, any major brand of lock, we can actually supply the housings for them in the key box, and then the customer can put their own cores in. So not just have a key hanging off the ring, but it can actually be physically trapped in that locking mechanism of the key box. So, there was an incident up at, SUNY Upstate Medical Center at Medical University now. But, it was in housekeeping, they had a great grandmaster in there for something, and, somebody attempted, they had credentials to get through the door, but they didn't have credentials for that key. So they decided that they were gonna try to steal it. So they attempted to they boogered everything up. They boogered up the housing, they boogered the core, but they never got the key out because it was physically trapped in there. So,
How do they track, what do they have?
it's an actual lock, so like in this case, if they have credentials to get in, then they can actually remove the key.
All right.
But that key could be the great grandmaster, floor master, submaster, any type of important key that you want. It can actually be physically locked in.
So you're in the security and locksmithing.
So you gotta have an access number for yourself that's valid in there to get that
Yeah,
key out.
Right, and it might only light up 4 of those 10 things, cause you only have access to, or one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can't have access to the key for, the computer room, that will not unlock.
All right,
So
Yeah,
you're,
you
based on your PIN
program
code.
in who can get what.
so they
when
all
can
light
get
up,
it.
but see, you're not gonna
But
get in the computer
Right, well,
room.
they all light up, cause he's allowed to have
Yeah,
everything.
I'm just using the,
All right,
Say
The
only
super
one would
code.
light up if you have access for only one key, only the one that you have access will light up.
now you may, and then the other side of it is Key Systems with the software, they actually make it that you can have everything that you're allowed to have fire,
yeah.
or we can fire them individually. So we can have them fire one at a time. So good example of that would be Western New England University. I sold him 2 key boxes years ago. So he had called me up the one day, and he said that he's getting a lot of complaints from facilities and users of those keys at the facilities box, which was, I think it was a 64 size box. So he explained that they have 2 campuses. They have the main campus, and then they have the off campus. Well, people that were doing service calls amongst the dorms and buildings and what, they were going in, taking keys, 7, 8 keys, sets out, going across campus, and then these are supposed to be shared keys, and they weren't here. They were all over there at the other campus. So I told Mike, I said, why don't you limit how many keys that they're allowed to take at a time? And he said, I'll give it a try. They were concerned with time of the people going back and forth and gas. And he limited them to 3, so instead of taking 7, the person's allowed to take 3. They have to bring them back before they can get more keys.
More keys.
So he said, yeah, it's costing a little bit in gas, it's costing a little bit in time, but you know what? Nobody's bothering me anymore about the keys, so he said everything's running smoothly with that.
Yeah, the important part of, we're the only ones that I'm aware that actually can trap the key that you're using
Yes.
in your cylinder. Most everybody hangs it, hangs it from, a key ring.
Yeah.
So, you know security, so I could look, if you're hanging keys, one, I could take a picture of it and do the biddings, right? Depending if I can get a blank, right, some of them are restricted or patented. But, if you're really good, you could read it and just write it down. So with ours, you have actually the keys in the cylinder, so
They can't see
You
anything.
can't see any of the
you can't
cuts.
see any of the biddings.
Right.
Right? And the only way, and you can't get it out, if you try to get it out, you'd break the head off, and you still, that's not gonna help.
What are you gonna get? You destroyed
Yeah.
the main thing, the key with the
Right,
cuts.
right,
The
so,
blade.
so that's added security, for people that are really, and we sell a lot that, that actually lock
Do that.
the key in, or you just lock the master keys in.
Now, I'm gonna ask you another question. Somebody cuts the wire, you have a master system that you could call up your supplier and say, hey, they cut my power wire. Now, how do I open a unit?
No, the box would still work, it has battery backup, so
Battery
it would still work, and it wouldn't go to some master place. Whoever you set up in the software to receive any type of alert or alarm,
Yeah.
that's who would get it. So that could be, the runner of the system, it could be security, campus police, whoever it is that you wanted to go to.
And you got non-volatile memory in there?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah, so there's actually a brain in there, so it will.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it will
He
store,
said.
they'll store that information, and then once you go back online, it will shoot all that
Shoot it
information
right
Back up,
back in.
all right.
right back up to
That's, I
wherever.
couldn't word it properly.
Yeah,
what
no,
he-
so that's a good thing.
Yep, we do have plugs as well, so we have them that they're actually latched that I can't get out. Whoop, that one I got out, but this one non-latching, the others are latching. So that's probably the wrong plug. I think I did this, put that one there, put this one here maybe. But the big thing that I wanted to say about the plugs versus the keys is with the keys, this key belongs to this lock. They're all keyed different, so
Different.
the key's either there or it's not there, and you don't have to search. If this is the key that you need, it's either there or it's not there. You're not punching in numbers to try to find where the key is that you're looking for. It's always there, it always goes back there.
Yeah, a lot of our competition has the plugs. We have it too, some people might want them, but really, there's chips in the end of those plugs. So the more technology you have, the more it can go wrong, is the reality of it. So if you just have a
I've
key,
seen that.
there's less to go wrong when you're hanging it from a key or actually entrapping the key itself than a plug. So if somebody wants a plug, we'll sell them a plug, but we always start with a mechanical because there's less that can go wrong.
Yeah,
Very simple.
the chip is actually inside the black area. That's it was hollow in there, and they put the chip in there, but what was happening is people would drop it,
Yeah.
and then the chip would get, there were 3 prongs that were soldered there. So now they fill them with epoxy. So once that chip is soldered in,
It's not coming
then
out.
they're filling it, so there's no
Yeah.
movement or jolting, it's like one solid piece.
But a lot of the, like, behind it, ours is very modular. I don't know if you can open it.
Yeah, I can open it,
When
sure.
you get there, when you open it, but, so, say if everything went wrong, the battery backup, or the battery died, the power died, you can still get in there with the key override.
Yep.
Okay, there's 2 keys, there's one for the door, and there's one for the panel, and when unlock that key. But there's two levels of security, you have to
Now, I
get.
got one last question, I'll leave you alone.
No, more the merrier.
Cutting that power supply wire, you say those keys are trapped
Yes.
in there. Now, when you cut the power, you have access to the keys to pull them out?
It's
Only
fail
if you have the
secure.
keys to get in,
To get in,
to release
that's why
them.
I asked you about the outside, the exterior lock.
No, you have to be able to do what he just did.
So there's two levels of security, and
If
get
you
through the
lose
door.
power,
Yeah,
the solenoid is defaulted as locked. It
It
doesn't pull
defaults
in,
locked,
it's
alright.
locked, so if the power goes out, you're still not getting these keys.
you're not gonna get it out.
You have to use the override keys, and then you would push down on the plunger of the solenoid,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn it,
Oh.
and then,
And then it
remove your
comes out.
key.
Yeah, so
Alright.
you have to have a way to do it if everything fails, right? You have to-
All right.
yeah. So, but there's
I
two
didn't mean
levels.
to interrupt you.
No, so there's a lock here, and then there's a lock
Yep.
for this panel here. And you can put any lock you want. You want medical locks on there,
Any
alloy,
brand you want.
any brand.
Alloy, multi-lock.
Yeah,
Well, years ago, before we came out with all the different, ICs, I did a job for, I forget the name of the dealer down in Virginia, but they are big with doing
Oh,
the
yeah,
government,
yeah. AVP.
no, down further, down near where, Amtrak is, down there.
Yeah.
I can't think of their name,
Too
but
many dealers.
they were doing a job for, the Department of State somewhere, I don't know what country. But, on that one, they had their own cylinders that they were using, they sent them up, Key Systems milled the actual cylinder to fit into the panel. The locks were zero bitted, cause they needed to test them, and then when that box shipped, the cores, or not the cores, but the cylinders were taken back out, rekeyed to the actual codes that they needed, and then put back in again. But they still do that today if need be. If it's some brand lock that they don't have, they can actually do that. So customer can have whatever locks they want, just send them up. And then, let's see, and then the KSI factory default, which is, it's 50-50 with that. So they'll either go with their own cores and their own keys, or if they go with KSI, it's because the KSI key is different from every other key that's on the ring. So
It's
it
gotta
makes
be
it
cut on
easy to know what
A
goes.
special machine.
Yeah, they have, what do you have,
Yeah,
one or
it's a
two of them?
dimple, it's more like,
It's a dimple key.
it's more like a multi-lock, with the dimple key at the
Dimple
side.
key?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, yeah.
yeah, basic
Yeah.
dimple key.
Right there.
And they all have the code on them, it's usually an M or an S number. And,
Yeah.
the Key Systems just needs that to be able to cut more keys.
Good demo key. Yes, then you can use one of
Holds
the,
up
you
well.
can use one of the, what's it called? One of the key rings. That was
Tamper-proof.
the tamper-proof key
Yeah, you
rings,
put
you can put on there and put your key on here or whatever you need to put on there, and it's locked in.
I had to send sample locks up to Albany County Sheriff's Department because they were concerned about the KSI key and having paracentric keys put on it. You know, hanging and
Oh, 'cause of
that
the
whole
weight?
bit, but the key, it wasn't gonna hold up and this and that.
Yeah,
So, we had some samples that, we sent up there and they tested them out, they went with them. And it took, I think the first order for keys, it was only like 8 keys. They have, I forget how many key boxes up there they have. But, it was like 8 keys we had to cut for them, and that was after like 3 or 4 years.
yeah.
So if they need replacement, they gotta come right back to you, they can't cut on site?
They can't cut on site. For the people that wanna cut on site, that's where they go with the
With their
IC.
cylinders?
Yes.
Alright.
Yeah. Yep. Just depends on how much they wanna control. isn't gonna go in there, that one's gonna, this one's going. Wrong key.
It was a good test, Andy, right?
Yes, it didn't open. So, yeah, we were opening this up to lower this down some more. So basically, what we have is, we have power coming in on the left-hand side. We have a battery, it's just a 12-volt dry cell, 7-amp battery for most of the key boxes. If it's the real small box, they'll use the baby, I think it's like a 1.5 amp or something like that, but it's still a brick, but the baby brick. And then we have the display assembly up here. The processor is usually the top board. Middle board is what they call USB-X board, which is for card settings or readers or eye scanners, whatever we're gonna attach to it. There's 2 ports for basically hooking up a siren or alarm or a camera, whatever you want to get tripped. And the power board on the bottom. A lot of people don't know, but the key box is constantly using the battery. Number one, like Baltimore County Detention Center down in, they're actually in Towson, but they call it Baltimore County Detention Center. They're running their key boxes on DC power because that's what this box runs on. So instead of having the battery and all that, it's running on their cell power. So we did have to get the conditioners. Key Systems actually sent us in conditioners for it because they were getting some fluctuations. You wouldn't think that 24-volt DC would be that big of a deal, but they were getting fluctuations with that power. So they had to, Eckert, they sent down conditioners for it. But, so that the battery uses every single time. How long does a battery last? New battery, it lasts a couple of days for sure. But, you know, if it's 3 years old.
That's if the power comes.
Yeah, if you lose power, then the box and dispensing of keys could be run for a couple of days. But, you know, it's hard after that. If it's brand new, couple of days. After that, if it's a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old,
You got a problem.
you could have a problem, yes, yeah. Now, thank goodness for what was that, the year 2000 for Y2K, because everybody was getting generators and this and that, the 24/7 voltage on the outlets, so that's helped a lot. But I remember that big scare back then.
I would imagine most places, if they're gonna go with a key box like that, have a generator in their building.
The generator, or they'll put it on the 24-hour
Or
service.
they'll replace the batteries as general maintenance every
Right.
several years or.
Yeah, I tell people 1 to 3 years. Some customers, they'll get them yearly, other customers, it's 2 years. And then you always have the customers that don't pay attention, because the software and the key box will notify you when the battery's starting to go.
Well, then,
But people don't pay attention to it.
negligent.
Yeah.
You
We'll get it tomorrow.
You realize
you know.
some in this room are like 5 years old at Y2K, you realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm dating myself, right? Well, I could talk about the 2008. So before 2008, everybody used every bell and whistle, it seemed, that we had in the software. They had users that could only use the box Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 7 in the morning till noon. Or, you know, the box would only work, you know, maybe 5 days a week, and then Saturday and Sunday, the box would not open for anybody. There were all kinds of programming. And then when 2008, my wife took an axle on that one where she worked, and they laid off a bunch of people during that one. And, you know, all that stuff seemed to disappear pretty quickly. So just now, it's starting where people are actually starting to maybe dabble in that again, where they only want the user to be able to get the keys, you know, Monday through Friday.
She was a programmer?
Yeah, You can program all that stuff, and it's easy, but,
No.
yeah.
Your wife. was-
Your wife,
Yeah,
no,
no,
what,
she
what?
wasn't the programmer,
No.
she used to purchase for a, government contractor. But,
How does the, is it the New Jersey Transit system use?
Mhm.
How-
Yeah, New
what-
Jersey Transit,
What are they using? How are they using that?
they're using them for money, for revenue. So when the bus,
Who's gonna steal a bus?
well, it's money, like, I don't know if they do anymore, but
Oh, I
they
see.
were still
They used to-
accepting money on the buses.
Right,
So
Okay.
every single bus terminal
So
had
it's
a
a key to
box.
the money.
oh.
Yeah, it's a money
On the
key.
bus.
It's a money key.
Oh, interesting, I was gonna say, yeah, I thought you meant like as a safe, okay.
Mm-mm.
Key for the box do they keep the money, they lock it in a cabinet?
But they have everything monitored, so if there's a data break, in terms of the connection, they get emailed on that. If there's a power outage or anything that happens on that, that was Lisa years ago. I can't think of the girl's name now, but, she's still getting those type of messages to let her know, oh, this box went, we lost power here or whatever, they notify everything.
Or
Yeah. But, and then, the other thing is with key systems, if you guys have a customer that, maybe they have 100 employees that they need to get into the box, if you have a file of those people's names, information, that can be emailed up to Key Systems can convert that into a file and drop it into their software, so that all that keying doesn't have to be done, it can actually be extracted from the file that you send to them. So that saves users a lot of
Active
time.
Directory, is that what we're talking?
No, I'm talking about actually, you have a company,
Take
they have
preloaded
100
database.
employees.
Yeah.
And they will randomly assign a PIN code to each one or something?
A lot of times they may already
Or
have
they
a
might-
PIN
oh,
code
they're using it for
already
something else.
assigned from
Okay.
their access control system. So if they can send that up to
Download
Key
it.
Systems, like Jason or
Right.
any of the tech support people can just run that
Yeah.
through, I forget what it's called or how it works, but basically they can select what they need from that and then convert that into our language for the software and then just drop it right in. So all they have to do, if they're in a group, they could already have the group assigned and then just assign what keys that group can get and you're ready to go.
And then they can adjust it on the fly at their end, but
Mhm.
we'll do all the preloading and all that
And
data
then-
entry.
And Tom was saying about we fully integrate with Linnell and Software House and
Genetech.
Genetech and that, but if we
Email.
don't integrate
Ours too.
fully with an access control system, we do have what they call a data sync tool that is one way. Their data sync, their data can go to our software,
That's
so
what I
they
asked
can
before.
populate the people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But our software doesn't send anything back. Now, if they lose an employee and they take them out of their access control system, that can pull it out of our software, so they would be deactivated from the box as soon as that happens. And that's set up on whatever frequency that the customer wants. It may be a couple hours, it redoes it every couple hours, it may be once a day, just depends on, how often they want to sync up everything. What else? Like some of those devices, like the Surface Vault,
Yeah, Surface Vault,
that's available two ways. It's available as a single key. It's also available as a ring of keys. That could be put at a drugstore on the wall of the pharmacy or next to the door of the pharmacy. They need a pharmacy key instead of relying on the person that worked yesterday to bring the key back with them again today.
I've seen that.
It can actually be right next to the pharmacy. They can use their fire panel to actually fire that. Doesn't have to be access control, it can actually be a fire panel. Just something with a switch and power.
Any other use cases on the SWATs that,
Well,
you've sold?
all the SWATs, I can't remember whether accredited quoted on that one or not, but there's one in Jersey for 5 or 7 of those surface vaults. That's flying, I hope they make a decision soon as to who's actually gonna get awarded it.
What, do you know what the application is, or?
Basically a lobby of the school.
Lobby of school?
So they can get in that front door, but they can't actually get into the school without using the key that's gonna be in that thing.
It seems like high schools and stuff, we sell a lot of SWATs for that purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they
Gym,
can either-
after hours gym or something.
Oh, okay, they're letting other
Yeah, they
users
don't want them
come
taking
into
the
the
key
school.
home,
Right.
so we know who punched in, so we know who took the key, we know who, when they put it back. Because, you know, obviously security is becoming more and more, a bigger issue at high schools and elementary
For
schools.
military, we do New Cumberland Army Depot out past Harrisburg along the turnpike. They have like 54 SWAT boxes, one for every building that's out there, and they have, I think it's like 8 or 10 key boxes.
Yeah.
But the SWAT boxes, I never realized how big some of the, when you drive past from the turnpike, you don't really see the buildings, but if you're on site and you see that building, it takes a person, which actually walks around that building, 45 minutes to do so. So one of the things that they do, I actually had to install one. I hired somebody to actually core drill the hole into the wall, and then a small hole for the wires, and then I put it in there and sealed it up and stuff. And then the guy I was working with, I asked about, well, I said, how do you know that the guy's actually walking around? He said, all the eyes in the sky, buddy, all the eyes in the sky. So that the whole place is cambered. You go into that building and it may be computers, or it may be printers. It's from the floor all the way to the ceiling, just racks and racks of inventory. It's crazy, but chock full, 45 minutes to walk around. They guard duty with the SWAT box. So when the guy starts his walk, he pins into the SWAT box. So he hits the back and the OK button, he puts in his PIN number, and all that does is it leaves a data trail that he pinned in under guard duty. Then he starts his walk around the building. When he's finished, he pins in again to prove that he finished walking. That's when I asked, well, how do you know that he's actually doing it?
Right.
Sitting in the Jeep reading.
He puts a
newspaper.
thing on his, pedometer on his pocket.
Oh, who knows, all kinds of stuff, but the cameras were there, I didn't notice them before. But
So they're not using it to store something, they're just using it to.
Well, a key to the front door
Oh, okay.
typically, so no one's carrying keys around there. If they need to get into that building, they have to be authorized for it, and then they just take the key out, they unlock the door, put it back in, and go in the door and relock it. But that's what they're doing. My neatest sale I thought was pretty neat was up in Massachusetts. It was for a high-end car repo. So he was like in between Springfield and Boston, and his employees were not stealing, they were borrowing the vehicles over the weekend to go cruising.
Those are like Porsches.
Yeah,
or-
Porsches and all these high-end.
The guy buys it,
Lamborghini.
makes the first payment, and
Picks
then
up
never
his
pays it.
girlfriend or
Yeah.
first date, press.
So, they were repossessing the cars, then his employees were actually taking them out over the weekend, so they come back with a scratch.
No
or
one's using it.
burnt tires, or, whatever, mileage difference, cause you have to report the mileage to the bank or to the finance company when you picked it up. So the miles
Big
were matching up and
discrepancy.
stuff. So they bought a 96 size key box so that they could lock up the vehicles and then see who actually gets the key out for them till they turn it in. So I thought that one was
They
pretty
let you
nice.
take a spin in his Ferrari or?
Yeah. Funeral service down in DC, that's another neat one. They do all diplomatic type of pickups of the bodies from diplomats from around the world. take care of the body and then put it on an airplane and send it back or what. But, I was actually down, I was down at Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, checking on them. And they're right around the corner, so I stopped down there and he says, the guy's name's Bob, he says, geez, you picked a great day to come here. I said, oh, really, Bob? Why? What's going on? He says, box paid for itself today, this morning. I said, oh, really? How's that? He said, I caught her. So, well, she took her car to the gas station to fill up her car instead of the service van to pick up bodies. So, he saw that she pinned in to get her keys, and she didn't take the van. She took her car, she went down to the gas station, filled up, then brought her car back, and then took the van. But he basically, through the software and the reporting, he actually drove down to the.
So, I
Down
thought
to
you
the
meant they
gas
locked up the
station.
bodies somehow with the key
No.
cabinet, I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a
right,
minute.
right.
No, but that was his whole concern is that they were stealing
Oh.
gas or, problems with the vehicles, taking vehicles when they weren't supposed to and that kind of thing. So he was very pleased with that and
Yeah,
what
So
occurred.
for $30 in gas, you lost your job.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Car dealerships are a big place, I feel like, for these to be successful, cause you go into, like, when I worked at a car dealership, we had 2 boxes, one for service and one for, like, the new cars. And you go into this box, and there'd be keys on the bottom, because they fell off their key ring, or they'd be all over each other, you could never, like, you put in a code, and it, one of the little lights would come up, and you'd be like, where's the key? I have no idea where it is. So the congestion of the keys, and just, with the gas card alone, I mean, that's something they didn't lock up, was a gas card. Not that I didn't ever get any gas for my car, but.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Right.
come on now.
No, I had a van.
How'd you know it wasn't
You're on
locked up?
camera.
then?
Yeah.
That's the right answer.
I would.
he kept scouting it out.
Yeah, he was waiting.
No, I didn't have a criminal
No.
mindset, but like,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, there was even some talk in our booth at ISC West about high-end vehicles getting stolen.
Yeah, that's right.
I think Mike was saying, I think that was in California or somewhere,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
actually broke into the dealership and they drove the car, they broke in, got the keys, and drove the car right out through the plate glass window. They just drove right through it, busted the glass out, and took the car.
Pretty brazen, yeah.
But, something like that with
Yeah.
this kind of a key box could definitely
Protect against that.
protect against that, yeah.
It's not easy to get into that.
No.
No.
Plus you hide it somewhere too.
Yeah, years ago, City of Groton, Connecticut. I never thought of like, picking or breaking in over here, so and it was just an SRP. So an SRP is just a hook box. So it's got our electronics and stuff, but it doesn't actually monitor the keys. The keys are just inside. hanging on
Like a
hooks.
traditional key cabinet.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
just with the.
But one of the guys up there that was in maintenance, they called me up. This was shortly after we had just sold it. And he said, well, we can't use your box. I said, what do you mean you can't use our box? He says, well, I was able to come down here and actually slide something in there, and it pushed the latch in, and he was able to get into it. So what kind of security is this? So I called Key Systems, reported it, and they came out with a strip, no charge. They actually sent the door too, so I had to replace the door. They already had the holes drilled. It came as a complete set, and I just had to put the new door on with that security strip on it. Not an issue now because we have the anti-pitch latch, but at that time we didn't. But they actually came up with a fix for it. Take care of it. So you're the only other guy here from accredited, but what I wanted to say is that of all the companies that I've ever represented, I think Q Systems is probably the most concerned and the most accommodating for actually taking care of the customer's needs. We've had incidents where, it was Sands Bethworks at the time, they're called Wing Creek Casino in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania now. But, the security box, it was a 96 size box that kept on dropping connections, even with the newer electronics. And I was actually there from construction, and I know what went on there, and I said, it's not the key box, it's their cable. Because it was at the podium, and when they built the casino, the floor of the podium was too low. So when they were sitting down, they couldn't see the floor. Anybody in security at the podium, they could not view the floor. It was down too low. So they ripped it all out, and all the cabling and all the wiring and stuff was underneath that podium floor. So when they ripped it out and they rebuilt it and jacked it up so that the security could see, that's when the cable got nicked. But Key Systems replaced the box. They got tired of hearing them complaining and this and that, and I said, it's not the box, it's not the box. I told the customer, change your cable, which they didn't wanna do because it was underneath and everything else. Make a long story short, Key Systems sends them a new box. The old one got sent back, and I was up there and I said, well, what about the cable? Oh, we changed that when we changed the box. Oh, really? You know?
Yeah.
So I could never, cause that new key box was gonna do the same darn
Right.
thing.
Same shit.
Yes. And then another incident was in Jersey, it was some construction company, and he insisted on having the box. Key Systems boxes can be put outside. But if you're gonna have rain and exposed to the elements, they have to be enclosed. So, no enclosure, he wants it out on the end of the porch, right at the edge, and, between the rain and snow, it basically shorted the panel.
Yeah, sure.
And, so he was totally dissatisfied.
They're not made for underwire.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a question about that got brought up at St. Joe's in, it was Patterson, cause I guess you're not allowed, I guess in New Jersey, you're not allowed to bring, like, if you have a carry permit, let's say as like a New Jersey resident that's not a police officer of some sort, you're able to carry, but you can't go into a building, I guess, with that gun. I didn't know exactly the rule or regulation on that, but they wanted to try to put electronic locker on the exterior side, and I told them you have to put like an awning or something, or add some type of enclosure to do that, cause we're
Yes.
not gonna just let it rain
No.
or snow, cause, you know, we get beat up way too much with that.
Exactly.
Yes,
So-
you can.
So, yeah, so that was an interesting kind of like, situation that I had walked into.
I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm saying self-service locker.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah. They put their guns
They can
in.
put their own PIN code in, and,
It's just they want it on
store
the
it
outside,
outside,
cause
though.
you can't put it on the inside.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
the only issue, and they're still talking, I'm still talking to Charlie about it, but trying to just figure that out.
yeah, I mean, it can be done. There was.
I mean, they could build a case around it,
Yeah,
where
they
they
could
could case
build
around
a-
it.
They can,
enclosure.
yeah. And they wanna
Yeah.
put some, it's more so by like a bike rack where all the people, all the employees kind of walk in and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, we have,
So,
trying to think, like courthouse would be a good one, cause the police have to maybe come in and testify or something.
like family, yeah.
And then, they could have that self-serve locker right there, or if they want, if the county wants to manage it, then they could, otherwise they don't have to worry about assigning pins to the self-serve, cause
Right.
the person can put in whatever
Their
pin
own.
number they want,
Yeah.
and then when they're done, just come and pick it up.
Do you have any other
Would there
questions?
be any
No.
issue with that, like if somebody's like the concern of somebody piggybacking them and watching the code they put in and getting that guy's gun if you leave it out in a public area?
Yeah.
That would be my,
It's-
you know,
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
conservative.
possible,
yeah,
sure.
it's,
I obviously.
We have the,
Biometrics.
we have the little
Something-
shroud.
And you can, we have where you can take a picture too. I mean, you can have, there can be a little camera in there to take a picture of every user.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can do that, and we also make a shroud that,
So they
that
can't-
covers
yeah,
that
so you
pin
can't see
area.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes with the double-faced tape, and, RIT ordered some of those.
Mm.
And, just goes over the keypad so that people
Yeah,
can
non-spy, I think they
see
call
it.
it.
I could, to be quite honest, I would know everybody's PIN number, because if I'm waiting and they're in front, I'm watching them. Seriously,
That's,
yeah, I would know everybody's PIN. I wouldn't use them, but I would know them.
And you're pretty tall too, so you could look
Yeah.
around. This guy's an advantage.
Talk around. But, and you can't actually see who's doing, now, if you had a camera and it took a picture because of a wrong PIN number,
yeah. And a lot of places have cameras in those
Yeah,
areas
yeah, no,
anyways.
absolutely.
yeah.
So,
But we have the ability to actually, in fact, it goes like right here,
The camera.
yeah.
there's a little hole there.
But it takes stills, it's not a video, it's a still
Mm.
shot. But yeah, I mean, to have a camera, I
No, I
recommend
would
it.
just, with the self-serve thing, that would be a concern with the gun anyway.
Well, security's out there anyway in the lobby, there's, security's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Just
that
an
one
extra,
that
right?
Michael was talking about, that's
Yeah, no,
still a
that's-
little bit
Yeah,
scary,
it
especially.
usually wouldn't be the criminals hanging around the locker, it'd be the
That's-
law enforcement.
Yeah, right, well,
Unless
Yeah.
you, well, I'm not going
no,
there.
no, we're not.
Now, we had a dealer
Not
that
a-
sold
not a
a
conspiracy,
police
yeah.
department in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey. The one key box is in their headquarters, but the other one's at their garage on the outside.
Mhm.
It's in an enclosure, but the enclosure's not locked, but the key box is sitting there.
Yeah.
But, you know, do you really wanna mess around with the key box on police property? Probably not.
Not a good idea.
No, I'm sure they have cameras outside there. But, yeah, sizes, like Tom said, they can configure the box however you want it, for whatever you wanna do. And, you can add an expansion cabinet on, up to one. So if you bought a 96, you could get another 96 cabinet and just tie it right into this frame, give you 192 positions.
And you gotta, depends on how you use the boxes. The reason why you don't wanna tie 4 or 5 together, cause you have a line, you know, with one.
Harris, Atlantic City,
Yeah, with one,
that was 5.
yeah,
And then
I mean, we can do it, but it's,
so at the time, it was hand readers, so the hand reader's down here, the fifth box is down there, and this little girl, she's running, now her keys are in the far box, so she's here and she's running, oh, whoa, I said, let's add some more time, here, let's get into the software, let's give you some more time that you don't have to run.
Yeah.
So if they need more than that, they would just do 2 separate operators?
Yes,
So they-
which,
Or 2 separate readers?
yeah, what's really the gating issue is where you present your credentials, because how many,
Right.
you want people waiting, right?
right,
Right, so you'd split them up. Right.
Yeah, so you can have different,
But you can run them off the same, there's no limit in the software, how many,
no limit in there.
It's
it's all
just-
the
no.
same software.
right, okay.
Which is like the hotels, and which I was mentioning to Tom and the
Yeah.
team, it's like hotels in these big properties have 2 96 key boxes right next to each other, and that's what they're using at these properties, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're trying to attack that.
Yeah, it's I was just up at a Marriott in, that's in Connecticut too.
Mhm.
So I was up there and they just use it for primarily for their housekeeping.
Yeah, a lot of houses.
Yeah.
They're not doing all the property doors, but they're doing all the
Mhm.
doors and keys that housekeeping would need to do a
All the
floor,
utility closets,
that
stuff
kind of
like that.
thing. But, what else? Pretty much it. Chain trays that, you know, you can put a chain tray down at that bottom so that the keys can actually fall into the tray. It was designed for handcuffs or leg cuffs, leg irons, so that the tray would hold the chain that was hanging down past the door. Well, a lot of the key boxes, for some reason, people always tend to put long hanging keys down at the very last row of the key box. And then what happens is that it's hanging down over the lip and you have to like sweep it away before you can close the door. But Key Systems makes a chain tray that just sits right here, that those keys can just drop right into that tray, keep everything nice
And that would be on a deeper
clean.
box, Andy?
No,
Any box?
standard box,
Okay.
yep. Doesn't have to be, yeah, it just fits in there, Agile uses a lot of those
Yeah.
for theirs.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, I mean, they typically just go with the one at the bottom, which seems
Yeah.
to do fine. But, you know, I always tell people, try to hang your longer stuff up top, not down at the bottom, but it doesn't work. American University, I actually had to use like my knee and foot to close the one public safety box, cause it was so filled. They finally bought the extended door
That's good.
that Tom was showing in the picture. It extends it another 2 inches out, so.
Oh,
Gives a little more space.
Yeah, so it
I
kinda
didn't
looks
understand
funny
what that,
because
why you would do
it's-
that, okay.
It's like about maybe 3/4 of an inch in, and then it comes out 2 inches. But that whole area does cover the whole panel. The way it's designed is wherever that's extended out, that's where all key space is. So, we have one up at, that's Johnson Controls. They sold it to Kutztown University, but there's one up there that, they have the key backs. Use key backs, and they also use, that Monarch product with the relockable key ring. So those things stick out pretty far. So they actually, the one box, they got an extended door on there so that everything is able to close nice and pretty,
Yeah.
neat, yes. Yep.
Any other
Questions,
questions?
any other things?
No,